Okay, I screwed up the first time, and I wound up saving a total of 32 seconds of the whole thing to YouTube. So now this is my second go around, and the first thing I want to show, I'm submitting a paper as well because I guess I just felt like my ideas were better once I got them out onto paper. So it's a 1,000-word paper that went along with this thing. But at any rate, I do mention vocabulary.com. I want to show it. I like to show this thing off. It's something we do when we're introducing the concept of whatever part of the book that we happen to be in. In this case, we're going to wind up doing this book. Let me see. Yep, A Short History of Nearly Everything. That's what I'm going to do for the class, just because I think it's a really cool book, and it actually is cross-disciplinary. It goes beyond just being a book for history or science or whatever. It's but it's nonfiction, and I'd say it's good for maybe 4th to 6th grade. If 6th grade or 4th grade gets a little young for it, maybe, but you could give it a try. Anyway, here we go. Vocabulary. There's so many things you can do on vocabulary.com. And once you get in there, you can kind of figure out what they are. You go in here, and some of the things are just practice, more or less. When you go in here and you can play a challenge, which certainly gives you badges and that sort of thing. You can go into, and this is just sort of automatic stuff. As a teacher, I can assign stuff as well. But if you do football vocabulary, okay. And then huddle. Interestingly enough, it's a quick private conference, but you don't think of it that way when it's a football huddle. This will give you words in every possible configuration. Some people have said to me that they don't like the idea of doing it that way. I got it wrong because it's that. Because what happens is the kid's focus is off of what it's going to mean in the text. Personally, I don't care. I think them knowing multiple meanings for words is healthy. As an English teacher, I find it very healthy. In fact, it's something they don't do enough of. So I don't care about that. Anyway, if you want to do a vocabulary jam, here's what you do. This one's not starting for 6 minutes and 33 seconds, and I'm not going to make you wait around for that to see it. But when you get in here, you're always on a team. Right now I'm on a team. Me, Luke are on a team, and T-Rex is on another one. People come in here and they can privately put out jams for other people to join. And it's one of the things that my kids learned in the middle of, if they wanted to not practice and they wanted to just sort of play, they could get in here and do the jams. I don't mind, because it's the same thing they're doing as when they practice, except that they are earning points against other people, and kids are just competitive like that. You can do one that's only in your class, though. That is only your vocabulary words that are in your class. That is the ones that we did. The kids enjoy them a lot, and they like to play it. Within these, and here's, and we start getting into my theory behind this thing. So as a let me just keep it on topic. As a pre-reading thing, knowing the vocabulary, and I will show, right now I don't have the PowerPoint for this or any of that, but that's going to be a part of my unit, because them knowing, having pictures to go along with words and actually saying the words and authentically reading the words. I put it in my paper. Authentic reading, authentic knowledge, rather than surface knowledge. I put in there that I hate study guides. I hate study guides because I don't believe it's necessarily authentic knowledge. It's something that you put out there so that you have something to show that, hey, my kids are doing something. But it's not really authentic, in my opinion. And I'm sure there's lots of people who disagree with me. At any rate, vocabulary jams, they are good. The kids like to do them. The kids have to do them. Every kid has to put, well, they don't have to put in an answer. They can decline to answer, but if that happens, it'll show up on my end very, very easily. They are great. They're competitive. They love to do them. So vocabulary jams are, now, pre-teaching the vocabulary before the vocabulary jam and giving them probably for me, it's an entire period, the day before we go into vocabulary jam is important. And it is also important to limit the number of words. Let me just show you. Here are the vocabulary words for my book. It's a short history of nearly everything. So this is the book I'm going to use. Just for the introduction, part 1, there are 40 words. And you can see all the words down here. Primordial, unassuming, particle. These are all the tough, what they call domain-specific words. They aren't necessarily academic vocabulary words. They are domain-specific. A lot of them, because it's the very beginning of the book and it's a short history of nearly everything, there are a lot of science words in here. The question is, do you want to give 40 words to the kids at once? If you don't, you can pull these words out and make other lists. I'm not going to show you all the things here for that. But look here. Aside from vocabulary jams and the regular practice, which they should be doing, I think you want to do this with them. Here's what happens. If they don't spell words and they don't read them aloud and they don't have the language connection to reading. For some reason, people think that this is some magical thing, reading. It's not. There's a language connection. These little symbols here mean something, right? We know what they mean because we've been reading for a long time. But it makes it very hard when it's children or people who don't read very well. There has to be a connection between that and language. And so much of what goes on with language these days is silent. But unfortunately, we haven't learned how to communicate mind to mind through telepathy. Telepathy, yeah. Anyway, look.
Facetious.
Ooh, it gives me a word. Facetious. Oh boy. T-I-O-U-S. I'm not perfect. Got it. Kids need to know how to spell. They need to hear that connection. This is not should never be the only thing that you're doing in class, but 40 words, you probably need to break it off into chunks of, I'd say a chunk of 20. So you got to figure out which 20 words are the first ones we're going to read in this book. I will figure that out by the time we do the unit. While we're reading, mostly it's mostly about them reading aloud. There are kids who won't read aloud, who can't read aloud, say it on their IEP. I did put that down. With the exception of those kids, everybody else should be reading aloud. That, I guarantee it's going to bump their level of understanding and comprehension of the text, period. Especially if you break it off into bite-sized chunks, and I did put that in my paper. So while you're reading it, most of what they're doing is reading. Thank God, right? They don't have to go through a study guide and deal with all this crap that just seems like busy work. Okay. Now, after they read, the very best thing to do, aside from there will be a short essay on each little section and all of that. Prior to that, though, there's a Socratic seminar. The first thing you need to sit down with them and do is establish the process of the Socratic seminar. I didn't put that in the paper or any of that, but I did. I think I put it in there, but it's not spelled out. The process it has to do with obviously respecting each other, hearing the other person's answer before you jump in. It is a nice controlled way for kids to have a conversation about a topic And this is a great book for establishing those topics. It's a short history of nearly everything. So, great topics for them to have a discussion about. So you can go from the reading to the discussion and then to the paper, which needn't be long, but I'm telling you, if it's not a page, they can write that much at least, and maybe more. This, I guess I don't want to go too far into how long it took me, but it didn't take me long to get through multi-paragraph. And people are like, well, some kids can't do that. Yes, they can. They just have to practice. I practiced, and I can do it, and I'm not perfect at it, and none of it always comes out great and all that, but yes, they can. They can do it. We just don't make them too often. So, does it need to be 3 pages or some intimidating length? No. But, we're requiring them to be able to put out this stuff. So if we're going to require it, we'd better start having them do it. And having them do it frequently and in small amounts. Instead of having them sit... I've seen school systems that are based around the 5-paragraph essay and having them do this stuff for a very, very long period of time. Wrong. Bad idea, as far as I'm concerned.